Okay, Bore da Cardiff, Shemai. Firstly, to the counter-protesters, I want to make clear that this is a rally for democracy.
It's all right, you heard the vote.
We stand for democracy and we hate Nazis, we hate racism and we hate fascism. We love democracy, we love freedom and we love Britain. And I have to ask, what kind of disturbed individual would stand against that? The counter-protesters that have come here today are from Stand Up to Racism, which is led by Diane Abbott. And she is in no position to comment on racism because she said she thinks white mothers are inferior to black mothers. These people are angry that I snuck into their conference and I filmed them laughing at the victims of the Rotherham child rape. These people laugh at racism. Now, Stand Up to Racism has often had at their events a keynote speaker, Moazim Beg from Cage, who is an ex-Guantanamo Bay detainee, who praised Jihadi John as a good man. And over last year, the month when we wear poppies, they invited into Parliament MEND, who were led by Azad Ali, who praised the killing of British soldiers. Now, our British soldiers stand up and fight for democracy and risk their lives. And these people support a man who would have them killed, whereas we campaign in favour of democracy. So it's pretty good, obvious who the good guys here are. Okay, as my surname reveals, my family are Welsh. They come from Tredegar, which is not far from here, and I used to live in Carmarthen. And I just want to take a moment with you to remember the history of our great nation. 179 years ago, brave Welsh men and women, Chartists, marched in Newport, not a million miles from where we stand now. Why? It was to demand for the vote. It was to say that we will not be silenced, that our voice matters. Gunshots were fired by soldiers, but onwards our brave forebears marched. That is how important democracy was for them. They were ready to risk their lives. And I have to ask if democracy is that important to us today. Well, we certainly do not embrace the violent means of some of the Chartists, and perhaps the counter-protesters do, but we seek peace, but we're inspired by the courage of the Chartists. Now, most of Wales voted for Brexit, but this House would seek to stop our will. Will you and I remain silent? Will we have them take our voice? Will we give up on democracy and bow to fascism? For what did many men in Bristol, Cardiff and throughout Britain risk their lives for and die in World War II? Was it so that we would throw away freedom? Now, some people may feel it's inconvenient to put down the TV remote and get off their backside, get off the sofa and join us today. Now, I can't make anyone come to an event like this, but I would like to draw their attention to the 1873 version of the famous Welsh hymn, Men of Harlech, where it says, "Bright-eyed freedom stands before ye, hear ye not her call." And I have to ask if we hear today that call for freedom, or if we become a nation of people, soft, brainwashed, cuckolded and placated by bread and circuses as people watch garbage on the BBC like EastEnders, which is nothing more than cultural Marxist state propaganda. It's time for us to wake up. The democracy for which the Chartists risked their lives, the freedom that they struggled for, is not the property of this House to sacrifice. Now, as for the Labour Ramonas, which dominate that assembly. How dare those wealthy elitists dare to even call themselves by the name of that party? They do not speak for the working man.
Uncover your face, you fascist!
They are not even a ghost
Uncover your
of the
face.
party in the days of Peter Shaw and Nyland Bevan. Those bold, courageous men eviscerated the EU with stirring speeches we replay with admonition today. Well, this house in front of me is full of leeches who only care for sucking money out of you in tax as they sell our nation out to foreign powers. Now, one of the most vile inhabitants of that house is the yellow Lib Dem, Kirsty Williams. And oh, Kirsty, we know why you love the EU. You don't speak for us. All you care about is the money they give to your husband for his struggling farm. And what I'm about to say now is going to anger some people. I will be hated. And I can already hear the screams from the think tanks in the Tufton Street in London. But here in Wales, just like with our northern brethren, we are not so gentle and polite as our home counties, fellow countrymen. We say it as it is. As a grandson of a Welsh miner, I want to know why state finance was withdrawn from our mines. Thousands of miners lost their jobs. Whole communities were left desolate to fall and rot. Now, Kirsty Custard says that the farms can have all the state bailout from the EU that they want. And when the banks crashed, it was you and I who were expected to bail them out to foot the bill. Why don't the miners matter? Why are the valleys unimportant? Are we too common for these money-grabbing politicians? And while we are speaking the truth, it must be said that these red Ramonas do not deserve the pedestal on which they stand. They win election after election here in the valleys by pointing out that the Tories closed the mines. But what they do not mention is that Labour, under their hero, Harold Wilson, shut twice as many mines as Thatcher. Baron Wilson of Rearvolks was not a man of the people. We often hear much talk of the mines being shut, of the state bailouts being stopped, but what do we not hear is why the mines failed to make a profit. We cannot succeed if the state keeps having to throw money at farms, at mines, at factories. This is not how you run an economy. It just builds up national debt. The question we need to ask is, why didn't people buy our coal? Why are they not buying steel from Port Talbot? Why didn't they want corn back in the days of Disraeli? To the House of Commons, on the 15th of May 1846, Disraeli stated, "It is a question of displacing the labour of England, or we could say Wales, that produces corn, or we could say steel, in order on an extensive and even universal scale to permit the entrance into this country of foreign corn or steel produced by foreign labour. Will that displaced labour find new employment?" And that is the important point. For all those jobs that go to China as they will have dumped their steel on us, will they create new jobs for the people of Port Talbot? No, that community will be left to rot, just as the mining communities were. The greedy liberal elite have closed factories and mines, opting for cheaper imports from China, Russia and India, where people are worked like slaves. Now, we succeeded in a hard struggle for fair wages, fair working conditions, fair hours, a safe environment. And therefore, the British government and the British business people don't want us. Hence, they attack the family and the birth rate falls. And the London elite would sacrifice their countrymen, their nation, their family for the sin of a quick profit, for pure greed. Now, what of these Labour Ramonas who have come out today to berate us? Why don't you stand for our rights, for our jobs? Why do you tolerate the rape of China? Britain has come to be run by slick careerists, a London-centric, globalist, postmodernist, neoliberal, metropolitan elite who do not care for you and I. They are busy stabbing backs while sporting black bow ties at Westminster drinks events. And they care for only one thing: power. You and I do not merely vote for Brexit so that we, the British people, would be able to make British laws. We voted in protest against the neoliberal globalist elite. We voted to say that we want our borders manned and an end to unskilled migration, where we have a 4.3% unemployment rate. British people should have those jobs. And we voted to say we don't want any more British jobs going overseas. In the spirit of Donald Trump, we must save Port Talbot. We must tax Chinese steel imports. Now, we standing here today are the real voice of the working class and the lower middle class. We are not a Soros-funded mob of thugs. And to those in this house sat on their fat backsides warming seats, ignoring the will of those who elect them, today you have been warned. The British bulldog is stirring. The Welsh dragon shall breathe fire. You will hear a loud cry, not just from here in Cardiff Bay to the heights of Snowdonia, but from John O'Groats to Land's End. Today, in the spirit of the Chartists, we say, you will betray the British people no more. Today, we make clear you are to serve us, and we are not going to serve you. Today, we make clear that if you do not heed our word, come the next election, be it in this assembly or the general election in England, you shall be thrown out on your backside. Today, we have driven a nail into the coffin of Carwyn's government, and soon we shall bury it. Cymru am byth, Cymru ne'er shall yield. Thank you.